back in former Steeler Ryan Clark. Dan Graziano said it would take quite a bit in order to move this game because the NFL really wants to try to stay on schedule as much as possible. What would you say is the biggest challenge for each team with that game getting pushed back a few days?
Well, I think the toughest thing about this is trying to figure out, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, what's the next step in practice? When you start to prepare for a game that's on Thursday, there's a certain schedule that you keep. And now that you move it out to Sunday, obviously, you know, Coach Tomlin, the standard is the standard, next man up, all of these cliches, but we're in unprecedented territory. So now it's redoing the schedule, understanding and trying to figure out who will be available for the Baltimore Ravens as you continue to push forward toward the game, and also keeping your team focused and not frustrated by this being the second time they've dealt with postponements or cancellations due to another team dealing with COVID-19 issues. And so for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's about focus. And then on the Baltimore Ravens side, it's about getting as many people as you can back healthy, understanding the protocol, sticking to quarantine, yet still preparing for a game now moving forward, understanding who will be available to you.
And again, you've got to give the NFL credit. Flexibility has been the key throughout the season, and they've shown it yet again here with the Thursday night game now moving it to Sunday. Last week, we came up with this new segment, and Ryan was actually getting defensive about his former head coach, Mike Tomlin. Take a listen.
I want to defend someone else, and that's Mike Tomlin. So I'm going way off of what this segment was supposed to be. Mike Tomlin's on year 14. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Where is all the Mike Tomlin's one of the greatest coaches in the world? And it's about time we start giving Mike Tomlin his respect.
Hey, listen, I love RC. I'm not going to go against him. All I want to say is that boy good. That boy is good. That boy just changed an entire damn segment on SportsCenter based on what we wasn't supposed to do to talk about Mike Tomlin. Ryan Clark just made TV magic.
So to be fair, Clark created his own segment. So here we are again. Who you getting defensive about this week?
First off, shout out to my boy Marcus, man, my dog at home, having some back issues. We miss you. This segment will not be the same without you. But for me right now, this week, it's Derek Carr. And listen, there were people who said Derek Carr wasn't John Gruden's guy. There were people who questioned Derek Carr's heart. There were people who came on TV and talked about the fact that Derek Carr was crying on the football field and maybe he was too soft for this game. Oh, by the way, I am people. I was the people that was saying all these things about Derek Carr, and I was wrong. Derek Carr is a baller. Derek Carr is playing the best football he's ever played in his career, and this is even including the year we thought he might win the MVP. He's gone toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes 2 times, and they won the first game and lost the second, and the only thing he's done wrong in those 2 games is leave Patrick Mahomes 1 minute and 43 seconds with the ball. Derek Carr has taken over John Gruden's team and made it his own. Whether it's the James Harden check, whether it's the Cindy Gruden check, it doesn't matter. Derek Carr is in control of it all. So we need to start talking about this dude as the Pro Bowler he's been this year, as the possible MVP he's been this year, and the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders are a team that nobody will want to play in the playoffs. And the main reason for that is Derek Carr. And so as people, I want to say I'm sorry, Derek, because I said all those things about you. And though I was right then, you have now proved me wrong. So I would defend you.
You know what, RC, don't beat yourself up, because the Raiders didn't pay Marcus Mariota $17 million because they thought Derek Carr was their guy, so maybe they owe him an apology too. I'm just saying, there was a lot of people that weren't sure coming into this year. Ryan Clark joining us here on SportsCenter with the latest around the NFL.
Carr also stared creepily into everyone's soul on the sideline.
He really
Very
did.
memeable
Yeah, that
moments.
meme was...
Yeah, coming up is a Cowboys winning streak. Yeah, plenty of headlines to get to today, Elle, with breaking news surrounding Alabama head coach Nick Saban, who has tested positive for coronavirus, and according to the school, has very mild symptoms. Remember, in October, Saban tested positive but received 3 consecutive negative tests in the same week as before Georgia. He was able to coach that weekend. However, this weekend, no such luck. No Iron Bowl for Saban. Steve Sarkisian takes over. Here was the coach just a little while ago on a conference call.
Yeah, I was informed this morning that I had tested positive. I don't really have any cardinal signs of the virus. I informed the team this morning at 10 on a Zoom call. I'm the only person in the whole organization who tested positive on this, round. So we hate it that this situation occurred, but as I've said many times before, you got to be able to deal with disruptions, in this year, and our players have been pretty mature about doing that.
Nick Saban presides over the #1 ranked team in the country. The first college football playoff rankings released. The top 4, same as it ever was: Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Ohio State. The intrigue is hanging out at 5 and 6, Texas A&M and Florida. But Cincinnati's still in play at 7th with 4 weeks to play. As for Alabama, they seem to find themselves at the top of the college football rankings all of the time. This is the 19th week that Alabama has found themselves atop of the college football playoff rankings. And if things go to schedule this week against Auburn, they can plan on seeing themselves there when the next rankings come out on Tuesday.
In the NFL, the Ravens have had 5 players and 4 staffers test positive for COVID this week, including the top 2 backs on the depth chart, J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, and 2 defensive starters, outside linebacker Pernell McPhee and nose tackle Brandon Williams. The Ravens canceled practice yesterday. The game tomorrow night, as we just talked about with Dan Graziano, is still on for now. And the analysts actually still like the Ravens' chances of making the playoffs, regardless of their result against the Steelers on Thursday, giving them a 78% chance, even if they fall to 6-5. Our ESPN Football Power Index has Baltimore with the easiest remaining schedule this season. Cincinnati came in at number 7 in the first CFP rankings based on its 8-0 record, and it looked like they'd go 9-0 Saturday against Temple, but that game's been called off due to COVID issues at both schools. The game is a no contest, and now Cincy is not going to be able to position themselves to schedule BYU on its open date of December 5th.
That was one of those situations where we were looking at the schedule saying, wait a second, we want Cincinnati and BYU to play on December 5th when they both had open dates. Not going to be the case now because of this. So that's certainly something we thought we'd get to see, but we won't.
We will not. That does it now for your half-hour headlines.
Some breaking news on SportsCenter. Soccer legend Diego Maradona passed away this morning. One of the greatest soccer players of all time, no stranger to controversy, has died from cardiac arrest at the age of 60. Nicknamed the Golden Boy, Maradona led Argentina to the 1986 World Cup and helped Napoli win 2 Italian titles. He's one of the greatest to ever play, along with one of the best players in FIFA history, along with Pele. However, he also battled drug and alcohol addiction, faced financial difficulties, and ran afoul from FIFA with some of his behavior on the field. He underwent surgery earlier this month for a subdural hematoma. I want to welcome in our Jeremy Schaap, who could give us perspective on this one. How would you put into perspective what Diego Maradona meant to the sport of soccer?
Well, Matt, it's almost hard, I think, for Americans to conceive of how much he meant, not just in his home country, Argentina, but to the world, wherever soccer mattered. I mean, he towered over the game for such a long period of time. And you think about Diego Maradona, as you said, one of the greatest players ever, arguably the greatest ever, the most skilled ever. Certainly, in that conversation with a very few names with Pele and Di Stefano and Messi and Eusebio, Maradona is right there. But there's almost no question that he had the greatest tournament when it mattered most that anyone's ever had. The 1986 World Cup in Mexico, when it's been described this way by so many. He single-handedly led Argentina to that remarkable World Cup victory. What he did in the quarterfinal against England, there was the hand of God moment where he later admitted, of course, that he punched in the goal with his hand. And then just a few minutes later, the goal that many consider the most spectacular, the most stunning, the greatest example of pure soccer skill that we've ever seen at any time. And so, he didn't have as great or as long a club career as his fellow Argentinian Lionel Messi, but he had a great club career, as you said, at Napoli. But what he did for the national team, what he did for Argentina, especially in that remarkable 1986 World Cup, established him as one of the all-time greats. And of course, what's still missing from Messi's resume is a World Cup victory. You almost can't overstate the genius and the messiness and all of that when it comes to Diego Maradona.
Yeah, he is certainly one of the all-time greats. There's a documentary about him that is absolutely fascinating, that if you haven't seen it, you should. Jeremy Schaap providing perspective with us this afternoon. Jeremy, thank you. In a statement released just a little while ago from Alberto Fernandez, posted a photograph, the Argentine president, of him hugging Maradona. You took us to the highest place in the world. You made us immensely happy. You were the greatest of all. Thanks for existing, Diego. We are going to miss you the rest of our lives.
All right, still ahead on SportsCenter, the top stars you need